One thing I'd love to announce is this. Grab out your phones and leave us a Google review. I'm going to be really real. This helps us a lot. There's a lot of amazing co-working spaces in Chicago. We love them all, but we want to be the best. And SEO is important, and so is Google reviews. So leave us one. 5 stars. If you have a picture, you can drop it in. You can say, Sam is so awesome. We love Sam. Sam Stewart is amazing. 1 Million Cups is awesome. And yeah, we're giving away 2 free months of co-working. I'm announcing all the winners from May/the first week in June, probably next week. So you'll hear from me directly if you won, and we'll get you set up with your key card here for Fulton for 2 months for free. That's all. If we're gonna co-work the rest of the day, you guys know the vibe by now, I think, right? Does anyone? You guys got it. Clean up. We're gonna clean up right at like 10:30ish, 10:15, 10:30. So hang out and grab a seat, and then head up to 2 if you need a more quiet place to work. But you're welcome to stay till 5. Thanks for being here.
Thank you. Whose first 1MC is this? All right, this is good. This is good. Well, welcome. 1 Million Cups is it started out of the Kauffman Foundation out of Kansas City. They're about 13 years old now, and there are over 100 locations nationwide. In that time, they've invited 25,000 people to come up and present and tell their stories, and we're just another one of those chapters. Hopefully the best chapter and soon to be the biggest chapter, but a chapter of many. The concept is pretty inspiring. It's this thinking that if you get entrepreneurs together and have 1 million cups of coffee, great things will happen. And that's what we're doing here. We're making great things happen. We're educating, inspiring, and we're building communities. And it's wonderful. We'll have 2 people come up and speak today. They'll speak for 6 minutes. It's a nice short presentation. They're not going to pitch. They're not looking for money. They probably are, but they're not going to looking for money from you. And they're not going to sell anything. They're just going to tell you about their story, what they're working on, what inspired them to create it, where they are in the process, and maybe where they're stuck. And then we have, as an audience, have an opportunity to help them get unstuck. One of the mantras of 1MC is at the end of every presentation for us to ask, what can we as a community do for you? And it's very powerful when you think about those words, what we as a community can do for you. And this is what this is about. It's an educational experience. It's for the presenter to come up and say, look, this is what I'm working on. This is how you can help me or what you can do for me. And we have an opportunity to opine and measure and kind of assess, hey, maybe I can connect you to somebody, or maybe if you haven't thought of this, you could do such and such. So open your minds and be free to provide feedback. We have 2 presenters. I don't think one of them's here yet.
Yes, he is.
Oh, welcome. Okay, you've missed nothing. You've missed nothing so far.
How does that make all of you feel? I missed nothing. I just got here.
You haven't missed your slot. There's still coffee in the pot. We're going to call you up second, so you have more time to catch your breath. You're still heaving. But let's kick it off. Let me get a presentation queued up. And Diane, you want to come up?
Sure.
And can we have a standing ovation? This is just amazing. So good to have presenters. And here we go.
One back.
That's right. I'm clicking it with my fingers, and up you go.
Go.
And remember, click down to advance. Here's the mic.
Okay.
And kick us off.
Welcome, everyone. You made it. Despite the rain. Yes, I did too. My name's Diane Mocha. I'm the founder and CEO of MomSub. We are a marketplace that connects parents and child care providers to find a family's one ideal nanny match and then manage their weekly child care payments and schedule changes. And I want to know who here is a working mom like me. Working mom, all right. Wait, one more question.
Come on, working moms.
All right, working mom. Who was raised by a working mom? Who was, oh, a lot more hands there. Okay, like my 2 kids were. Well, you probably know that there are times that working moms have stress, guilt, and self-criticism. And that's what I went through. So, okay. When I became a working mom, and a lot of my stress was because I couldn't find the right childcare. I went through 12 different childcare providers during the first 4 years of being a working mom. I was a television reporter, so thrilled I could work 2 days a week as a freelance reporter, be with my kids the other 5 days, but I just couldn't find the right person to be with those kids during that part-time schedule. And that's the same thing that happened to Sarah. She just needed care for her 2 kids after school a couple hours a day. She had to contact 64 nannies to find one that would come for the schedule that she needed in her home and pick up her kids. And then guess what? A couple months later, that nanny quit. She came to us, and that's why we created MomSub. So we could connect parents like Sarah to a childcare provider who's available when and where they need them at a rate they can afford, right? That's important. And what do? It's simple. They submit their needs on the MomSub app. They get to watch a video of their nanny match, and then boom, they book them, just like Sarah booked Jackie. And what else are we doing? Well, we're solving that problem of more demand than supply by inviting moms, grandmas, and people who helped raise younger siblings and cousins to join our platform, in addition to the traditional providers like neighborhood babysitters, professional nannies, students. These are all growing the pie. And we handle all of the checks. We make sure this person is trusted, safe, reliable through background checks. We're even doing the scheduling and the confirmation so the mom doesn't have to deal with that stress. Or the dad, of course. So what do the parents do? Well, they easily pay for their childcare each week on the app, and they contact us to coordinate schedule changes. And anyone who has kids knows that just when you think things are going to stay the same, they change, right? So about a third of the time, parents have schedule changes, and we help coordinate those and make sure that their MomSub can accommodate those changes. Sarah told us we took out all of the hassle of finding childcare, and she was able to approve her nanny match based on a video interview alone, because everyone knows Zoom is 25 times more accepted now than ever before. So the idea is the match. All the other childcare apps give you a list. Imagine if every time you needed a ride, Uber gave you a list of 30 drivers' names and numbers and said, hey, you call them all and figure out which one's willing to pick you up. Or maybe none at all. That's what parents face when they use Care.com, Sittercity, or all the other apps out there. It's not what we do. We find them a match, and people are loving it. They're coming to us, and we are converting 58% of the leads that come to us, and our sales are growing 67% month over month this year. Thank you. It's been a long road, but we are thrilled to be serving paying customers because we know when they pay that this is something that they really need. But we're not charging too much because we know that childcare needs to be affordable. So the amount that they pay in fees is actually an hourly service fee. There's a small fee that they pay up front to do the search, and the hourly service fee is actually included in the hourly rate they've already told us they can afford. So it doesn't feel extra like those dreaded subscription fees that Care.com and all the other apps charge just to give you a list and not to give you a match like we do. So who does this help? Well, a lot of parents, but especially working moms who are middle class and need part-time care. These are the ones that come to us on a regular basis saying, please, can you help me? And there are a lot of them. People spend $60 billion a year in the United States alone on childcare. 20 billion of that is spent on part-time care, the kind of care that you don't get generally at a daycare. And there are 7 million parents that need that part-time care. So what else are we going to do? Well, we're working on getting more businesses to connect and partner with us because we have a childcare benefits platform that helps reduce turnover and absenteeism. Why would a business care about turnover and absenteeism as it relates to childcare? Well, because 1.8 million women leave the workforce every year because of childcare challenges. You know, it's tough to balance everything. And so a business offering this as a perk is going to help keep their employees. So we are getting our customers primarily through those Facebook mom groups where the moms are desperately looking for someone out in the community. 20% are coming from referrals because our customers love us and share us, and 10% are even finding us through organic Google search. Our team includes experts in mobile application, sales, marketing, my connections in the media, 15 years as a television reporter at a CBS station. And what are we asking you? We really want to grow our B2B portion of our business so we can reach those working moms in the workplace so they know that their employer really cares about family-friendly policies. And so we want you to connect us to a decision maker at a big company, or maybe someone who runs a small business and can offer this as a perk to their employees. We're also launching an equity crowdfunding campaign later this summer and would love your help in spreading the word about that. So anything that you can do to connect to MomSub on any social media, we're on all of them, or even to contact me, Diane, at momsub.com. That's MomSub, like a substitute mom.
Stay up here. You're looking to connect with decision makers, but you already have great traction. So what have you done so far?
So what we've done so far is connect with individual parents. Like I said, we're in those Facebook mom groups. Our brand ambassadors are as well, sharing who we are and what we do. And they come to us, either fill out a form on our website or get our app and submit a profile with their needs. But we are not as adept at reaching those businesses and all the different layers you need to go through. We found it's best to get warm introductions to have the businesses know and trust us before they bring us in and connect us to their employees to give their employees those perks. So we are growing individually, but the best way to keep the individual rate affordable is to bring in businesses and to have the businesses supplement the revenue, because we don't want to have to increase the margins of the rate to be able to continue to have the business grow and thrive and be sustainable. We want corporations and companies who benefit when working moms and dads stay in the workplace to also contribute as well.
Yep. So has anybody had the similar challenge trying to connect to businesses for your revenue model? So how'd you guys connect to businesses? Yeah, they're nodding.
I think it's really kind of like asking for direct relationships that we already exist. And so I found that most business owners are either 1 or 2 degrees separate from my current network. And so coming to events like this where it's easy to find like, hey, I know this person. And I was thinking about maybe 2 or 3 businesses already that are like, all right, I know the CEO and I know that majority of their workforce are predominantly women. And so it'll be great for me to connect those things. And so I think these kind of environments are the best at those.
Yeah, we started out doing a lot of cold outreach and got nowhere with that. Got some meetings after meetings.
Yeah.
Learned about sales cycles. So as a person from the media, I didn't have experience with corporate and all of that. And so I love the idea of warm introductions, and we're definitely having some better luck with that.
Awesome.
What other questions does anyone have? Yes.
Question, are there like benefits conferences, like conferences for HR people that make decisions?
There are, and I went to the biggest one of the year in the United States. It's called SHRM, Society for Human Resources Management. I didn't even know about that a few years ago, but I found out about it. I went to the conference. I met dozens of people. I followed up with them. I have a podcast. I invited some to come on the podcast. I had meetings with them. I had more meetings with them. I had more meetings with them, and then they sort of dropped off the calendar. So it has been the biggest challenge, is connecting with those businesses, even when I've met people face to face, even when the women in HR said, this is great, we want to bring this to our organization, but oh, it's not the right time to talk to my boss. And oh, I think we're going to have to wait until this. And so that's why I'm really looking for those decision makers. I'm happy to go to a small organization if I can get directly to the decision maker. Yes.
Do you think part of the reason you're having trouble is a lot of the decision makers are men?
Yes. Yes. So I've recently had people say, you've got to frame this by what they want, and a business owner, you know, they want to either make money or lose less money. And so if you let them know that it costs, you know, 5, 10, 15, 20,000 or more to hire and retrain somebody, they often don't hear from the women that they left their job because of childcare. Women are embarrassed. Women don't want to say that. It may not be the only reason, and they'll say something else. They don't even want to feel that guilt in their mind of thinking like, oh, I left my career because of my kids, maybe it was really this. And so it's not getting back to the men in the decision-making roles that this is the reason. But we know the statistics. We know that nearly 2 million women are leaving their careers because of it. And it's not just the affordability, it's oftentimes the accessibility. Finding that person that is there when you need them, and if you only need them 2 hours after school, or 2 hours in the morning, or 1 day a week, that's not easy to find. Or you find someone and then 3 months later they quit for a full-time job. We're making sure that we're connecting them to someone that's interested and available in that part-time position, like I found after 4 years.
So how are you modifying your pitch to the businesses that you're meeting to bring in that data that Kayla's bringing up?
So we're specifically telling them that this is about retention, productivity, improving productivity, because parents that know that they've got somebody taking care of the kids are going to be able to focus at work. Or if the kids are running around at home and they're trying to work from home and they've got someone to come in and take care of them during those meetings, that's going to improve their productivity. It's going to obviously reduce absenteeism. There's a lot of restaurants that go through this where they have high absenteeism because the families have childcare challenges if they have to work nights. But a lot of times it's difficult for those families to even afford childcare. They're trying to use a patchwork of family and friends.
So you say obviously absenteeism. Are you spelling that out for them in the pitch? Because like to you and me, absenteeism is obvious, but that may not be true for men who always go to work, and if the school calls because the kid is sick,
The mom goes.
and those men like have never had to deal with that. Like I don't know that that's necessarily as obvious to them.
True. So the first sentence of any pitch we send out says, do you want to improve recruitment, retention, right? Telling people during an interview, getting better talent, productivity, and absenteeism. So we spell those 4 things out. I haven't been using statistics as much, so that's kind of the next step. So we want to focus on giving the best service possible to our existing customers. And even though I have a small team of kind of patchwork of consultants, I'm doing a lot of the work myself. So that's another part as well. Yes.
I had a plus one, but I didn't get it. Okay. Oh, I was just gonna say, I used to work at Google and they had a benefit to reimburse moms or families for care.com and emergency,
That's what I want to find.
emergency things.
Are all the companies, so there are many, many companies out there, especially big corporations, that pay for care.com memberships, for their care.com subscriptions every month. And so many of those, I've met those employees. They're like, care.com sucks. We hate it. It doesn't help. I spent 3 months, contacting all these people, and then I ended up with someone who was terrible, and then they left. So we know that their employees are not satisfied, but the decision makers don't necessarily hear about it. And so it's difficult finding who their customers are. And when I do find out who their customers are, they're big corporations that would could, maybe they won't. It's harder to get into them. I said it would take years. It could take years. It could take 1 phone call if I have the right connection. So I want to always turn it around and make it solution oriented. So I would love to meet anyone at any place that has care.com. The American Medical Association, I've heard, headquartered right here in downtown Chicago, offers and pays for care.com. So if anyone knows anyone there, I would love to connect.
One last question, one fun, go ahead.
My one thought was, have you thought about treating your customers as referral partners? They're working moms, they have jobs at companies, their spouses might as well. You could have like a referral reward for, like a credit and services.
That's a great idea. We sent out an email asking, and we got a couple of responses, tried to reach out to those companies, didn't have much luck, but we didn't offer an incentive.
Yeah.
Right.
So, and we have had several people from like the same school or the same this. It's very difficult. I have tried reaching out to schools. Public schools don't normally do business collaborations, especially with a business that's involved in like taking care of children and things like that. So there's a lot of things to navigate. I would love to connect to hospitals, schools, the kind of places where, a lot of women are working and they're working those nights and weekends and non-traditional hours when they really need that help. But those are the hardest places to get into. So any connections you have, we welcome, and I thank you for all your questions and your attention and interest.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much. Before we call Matthew up, a couple of more things. Diane, thank you. 1MC is a nonprofit, and they apply for grant funding and other, it's just applications for funding. The registration numbers are really important for them. So knowing that this many people came up, especially on a rainy and terrible day like today. Who got stuck in traffic today? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like a lot of you. Okay, so thank you so much for coming. Please make a note of the fact that you were here. Again, we want to thank Workbox, which, Sam got a chance to come up and speak a little bit, but our coffee was provided by U3. We're also sponsored by All Rise Legal. And did anyone try a Honey Bomb Elixir? Joe, you tried your own product? That's good. We want the person who creates it to try it as well. We want to see that, but it's pretty good stuff, right? If you want to be a sponsor, if you want to support 1MC, we're going to be looking for new locations throughout the summer. Workbox has been great. We also have to give them a break from time to time. Coffee sponsors have been just inspiring. If you know of anybody, you want us to connect these people. Also, we'll invite you to follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram. It turns out our 1MC Chicago page, Keith told me earlier, on LinkedIn has more followers than the National 1 Million Cups organization.
Wow! Woo!
That was a surprise. I was like, look at us. It's amazing. And if you want to be a presenter, please click the QR code. And if you wouldn't mind, give a standing ovation to Matthew. Your presentation's QR.
Something else too.
Okay.
I mean, it's not a. Well, let's see. Let's pull it up and let's see how it looks.
Hey, what's up, Matthew? I'm gonna have you attach this.
Okay.
Is this mic? Is that?
Yeah, that's for the live. I'm gonna hold that way. Wait, hold on a second.
All right. Have fun.
All right.
So here, this is.
Okay,
We're so high tech.
Hold on a second, though. I'm going to turn this off and turn this back on because I heard it clipping a little bit.
Yeah, that's going to happen.
Is this even going to go?
If you hit down, it'll
Okay.
advance.
All right, and let me pull something up. I can load this up. Small spoilers here. I'm gonna play. There. All right. Check, mic check. Oh, that's the wrong kind of microphone night, right? That's like later. All right, everybody, I'm Matthew Kurbis. I'm the subscription attorney. Hopefully I don't look too much like other attorneys, if you know attorneys. Any other attorneys in the room? Any other lawyers? Legal professionals? Anybody? No? Okay. So anybody ever have the displeasure? Anybody ever have to hire a lawyer before? Anybody have to work with a lawyer? Okay, so like half the room. All right. And did they bill you by the hour? Keep your hands up. Keep your hands up if your lawyer billed you by the hour. All right. Sorry. I apologize. I'm trying to change that. I'm changing that with my own practice at Subscription Attorney LLC. But I also have a podcast called Law Subscribed, where I talk to other lawyers who have ditched the billable hour for affordable fixed fee or subscription-based pricing. I'm here today in my capacity as the founder of Subscription Attorney LLC. I'm the check. I'm the subscription attorney. And business is good, but it could be better. And I'm also trying to figure out what works for me so I can help other lawyers that also want to ditch the billable hour and use alternative fee-based pricing. So I'm here today actually to ask you about 2 paths I could take for marketing this concept. So that's what I'm here for today. So I'll talk a little bit about my business just to give you context, but I'm also, get rid of that. But I need to give you a little bit of information about this. All right, so basically, according to 2024 data, $400 billion were spent on legal services last year in the United States. But we know from other data from the World Justice Project that in the United States, about 78% of people don't get their legal services addressed by a lawyer because, most hourly rates, at least in this area, are around $300 an hour or up. Well, how are you supposed to budget for that? And let me let you in on a dirty little secret. Most lawyers, if they really needed to, because I do a lot of continuing legal education teaching and helping other lawyers learn about this, I always ask them this question, maybe one or two hands go up. Most lawyers can't afford their own fees. Isn't that ridiculous? Right? If you have a product or if you have a service and you're here, could you afford yourself? Right? Like, think about that. Like, what's wrong with that? Well, lawyers have a monopoly on legal services, right? You need to be a licensed attorney to provide legal services, right? So there's no competition. So I developed a firm that I wanted to be able to afford, even though I have student loans and daycare and car payments and a mortgage, right? So that's why my subscription started $20 a month and $50 a page. And I don't want to get too much into the details here. Everything's on my website. But anybody here use Gamma app yet? One person, two people? Yeah, so I'm experimenting with Gamma. It's really cool, but obviously some kinks to be worked out for live presentations. It's really good for virtual presentations. So I do have other subscription-based packages, but I'm not doing any time tracking whatsoever. No billing, no tracking time. They get so many, there we go, now we're talking. All right, thank you. They get so many projects a month for small businesses. Now, my target market is actually not your high growth tech startups, right? Because there are lawyers that specialize in that. And I'm more like miles wide, inches deep law, because my thesis is that you could avoid big, expensive legal problems if you catch them up front. So you want to incentivize people contact you and call you, so there's no capped communications with my firm. But there are scoped amount of services, and if you go outside the scope, that's what subscription levels are for. You have to go up to the next subscription level. So anyway, here's the challenge, right? I'm a true solo owner operator. I outsource things like taxes. I outsource other things that don't make sense for me to do. But I do have limited resources, and I'm leveraging AI up the wazoo. I have limited ability to do more than, say, one really good marketing thing at a time. So I have two options here. One, I brought up, and I'll show you in a second here, it's called the Law for Kids podcast, right? I do things like speaking engagements, board participation, fostering networking relationships, but right now I'm here today to talk about educational content. So I have something called the Law for Kids podcast, legal concepts that you could talk about, so simple a kid can understand, that is shareable, or I can make, hopefully not too stuffy, but more like legal geared concepts towards my actual business market, right? So something that I haven't launched yet, but I have the domain, the Subscription Attorney Podcast, where I talk about, what it's like to hire an attorney not on the billable hour. What I talk about legal concepts, like what it means to have an optional addendum to a contract. And I can already see you guys are falling asleep. Or a Law for Kids podcast, where I talk about concepts. So I see I have 1 more minute left. So the idea here would be a business owner friendly approach, right? Where I'm creating content for the potential small business owner, the mom and pop shop owner, or content, and I have some examples of this. I ran an experiment last year. I have 8 episodes. I'll show you one here in a second.
Yeah,
where it's a more, no, I can't?
We won't, it's 10.
Okay,
now.
all right. So in any event, the request is, which one do I go with? Do I go with a more kid-friendly approach that maybe is shareable between teachers and parents with their kids, with the idea that there may be some teachers or parents who have small businesses or get shared with those people, or do I focus more on the potential small business owner client and create content around that? So what's more interesting, do you think, to you? And what do you think will be more successful?
Can you go back to the next slide up? So tell it, we're a little, anybody have any initial answers already? I didn't need to wrap my head around this bit. Yeah.
I think it'll help with an example.
It's because the kid approach is wonderful, and it's very, you can expand the minds, teachers, etc. But if you're talking about profitability, scalable growth, the children focus area is probably not going to be where you're going to get your largest number of customers. Small businesses do this now. I'm sure there are folks in here right now who are like, oh my gosh, would love to.
So my question then for you would be, like, when you're on social media and you're looking at content, what are you looking for that's interesting to you then, as a business owner?
As a business owner, I want to be engaged. I want to see authenticity. I want to see something that will reach right to my values and, what I need. And what I probably need as a business owner who needs legal services is to understand how I can quickly find a lawyer who I can afford to help me get my business to its next level.
Are you more likely to share with someone an attorney talking about Contracts 101 or an attorney talking to kids about what are damages and how to understand damages at a simple level?
Or either.
Or either. Right. That's a question.
Right.
Neither.
Go ahead.
It sounds to me like you really want to do this law for kids thing.
Well, that's why
Hang on. Kids have no money. Kids are not paying your bills. And people, if you say law for kids, a lot of your target market is going to think that this is not for them.
Yeah.
And I think that if you, like, if you're, like, passing by all the people who, like, I don't know, personally, my dad is a lawyer, was a lawyer. He probably wouldn't, like, we didn't talk, I mean, I talked, like, as I got older, but, like, when I was 10, we did not really talk about legal concepts. Like, that was not, like, a thing that we did.
Right.
And I don't know, and if you're trying to get, like, the most bang for your buck, I think that, like, you need to target your target audience.
Is anybody here, because lawyers are making a lot of this content online and they don't necessarily have a lot of views too. So some of it is about the idea anyway, and tell me if I'm wrong, is building brand affinity and positive association with my brand for doing something that maybe doesn't necessarily scale. Whereas, like, are people out here, are you watching lawyer content online about lawyer stuff?
You can make fun content.
Yeah.
That is not targeted at kids, but is targeted at your target market. You don't have to like abandon this like joyful like snippet thing just because you're not targeting kids anymore.
Right. So the idea is what would spread then like that? Because I like, it's hard to come up with stuffy lawyer content that would spread, but like simple concepts that kids can understand. I feel like people would share that. But then the question is, would it drive business to my firm? And it's sounding like you all are doubtful.
Do you know if attorneys are a lot of attorneys are playing the content game? Do you know if any attorneys are winning the content game?
Yeah, there's one lawyer who does is in the wedding industry. It's called the Legal Page podcast. And all of her content, it's a solo podcast and it's focused on things that her clients experience in the wedding industry. And then she sells all these templatized forms and things on her website, but she's also not providing legal services necessarily because lawyers were limited by our license. And it's in the slides, I don't have time to go into it. But I can only provide legal services in Illinois.
Sure.
So some of this also comes down to how much time do I want to be investing in something where I'm going to get inbound, and I already do, from people outside my licensed jurisdiction. So, do I want to spend that time just building positive brand affinity with my brand, which may come back to help me in ways that aren't as obviously scalable? Or do I just want to really focus on that educational legal content for more ideal clients, even if it doesn't scale the same?
You said something that was very telling. You said she shares these instances that happen. And so, we've all heard like Bridezilla and all this. She's telling stories. There's a different part of your brain that processes a story than processes information, and you remember it differently.
Right.
So I know there's client attorney privilege and stuff, but if you can be anonymous and share crazy stories, even if it's something you read, just to attribute where you found it, people are going to be interested in that, and that's more likely to go viral than just, like you said, stuffy concepts. But you can incorporate the concepts into the story. So I think focusing on stories might be your best bet for your podcast.
Here, and then we'll go in the back.
This doesn't really have your short term, but like, have you thought about doing like a marketplace almost of like people who are willing to do subscription-based legal firms? So then when you do get inbound, you can either refer out. Like, I actually see this a little bit bigger than what you're thinking about. Of like, if you're doing a podcast, that's a more nationwide, and this feels like a more like universal concept that could be not just a you, but like a marketplace of subscription attorneys.
Or even just referrals.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
somebody in every state.
That's happening already to a certain extent, but it's like in the content game at all here, it's all national, international, right? So all the content and stuff that's already out there, like that is kind of already happening. And I've actually had to I've had to introduce friction into my automated onboarding process just to avoid that, because it's actually becoming not manageable for like a true solo. I'm not trying to be a big giant law firm. I'm just trying to have a lifestyle business, right? So there were some things in the back. We'll go there and then there.
Oh, here. Well, I would like to give a round of applause to that hero after presentation. Great presentation, and being a startup, law firms are kind of something we're looking at, right, after a certain point, and it's something very costly. So great approach, kind of providing this service. One thing I think as a startup, what I would relate to right away is kind of a persona. So if I'm sold a typical persona, maybe 3 or 4 of your typical customer users, and you relate to me in that way, I can see myself immediately in their shoes. Instead of recognizing you might save me money, I'm recognizing that you're relating to me right away. So maybe just going on that path of putting yourselves in their shoes and marketing that route, something I would relate to personally.
I like that a lot. I think like where my head goes is usefulness to a potential customer is helpful, but how are they going to discover it? Because like I don't know that I want to necessarily pay for promotion because it's going to reach a huge audience that's not applicable to me versus creating inherently shareable content. And like that's where my conflict is, right? Like I don't know that that's shareable even though it's useful. Unless it is shareable. I don't know. As I said in the back next.
Yeah, I think kind of going back to the wedding thing, finding a niche and just focusing directly on that you're familiar with, that you can speak directly to start. Also, like I've started a lot of like LLCs, things like that. I feel like I've always started too early. Where I've, even in my current business, most of my expenses are legal. Like even operating the business is more than operating the business. So I think you come in and meet people where, like when they should start, when they should actually bring you on, speak to adding your content. I think you're actually going to actually capture more people to understand like when they should.
I like that, and actually that gave me an idea. So you remember like the Got Milk campaign, like who was behind it? Was it Big Milk? Like it wasn't like some sort of like milk company. I don't associate that. So it's like do things like, does your lawyer use subscriptions? They should, right? Like I don't know. Like there might be something there. Yeah, I'll think about that.
Just a quick thought. Instead of then I talk about educating kids. What if you educate founders? Do something more targeted there.
There's a lot of stuff right now. Like Foursquare Law comes to mind. They do some stuff like that. And like I'm also trying to like not compete in that space, right? Because like I care more about like the mom and pop shop, the small business owner, because there's tons of content on founder stuff, and actually it's ripe for disruption with legal tech and stuff too, right? So I'm also trying to play in this latent space of folks who need pricing certainty, and I guess kind of everybody does. But founders can raise venture capital that can pay for legal fees. Yeah.
Great idea for content is showcasing you working with a small business and telling that story about, going back to the story, but telling the story about how you're servicing them and you're getting them from here to that result.
I mean, that might make a good commercial, right? But like, is that shareable social media content?
But as a small business owner, you helped out them. There's a golden nugget that I could extract from that, and that's shareable for me to send to somebody else and saying, hey.
Okay, I'm seeing head nods. Yeah, I'm seeing head nods. Yeah. Yeah.
Probably time for one more.
Yeah.
To be honest, I could talk about this all day because I do like content marketing, and I feel like we've heard a lot of different things. At the end of the day, all of these are correct answers, and you have to find out,
Right.
You have to do all of them. That's the part that kind of sucks, right? So
Right. This is why I'm here. Tell me which one I should do. Which one is the most valuable for me to do? You're right.
You have to do a little bit of all of them, right? You have to first find out like the top of funnel, most shareable, most viral content to build that authority as your brand. But then those like more deeper cuts of storytelling, which is what I do most of my personal brand, is what actually like engages those people and converts them into like an actual audience. And then at the bottom of the funnel, you have like direct sell, like, hey, by the way, like at the end of the video, hey, by the way, like if you're in Chicago, if you're in Illinois, like you should check me out, whatever. Or making entire videos like dedicated to that. So my personal recommendation would be, it seems like you're very excited about the podcast and the stuff. I would try both of those things. Yeah. I would think about the ideal audience that you have, right? Think about that person, and don't think about the podcast as a podcast anymore. Think about like write out the questions
per person that you bring onto the podcast, as if it's like a TikTok hook. Like, what is a question that someone would share that someone would be very curious about? Write out that list of questions for your podcast guests, or even if it's the kids, like what's something that people would find like very, very interesting to share, right? So these podcasts, these interviews with kids, they're really just a long form way to
So it's actually the exact opposite. It's 1 minute episodes, bite-sized episodes. Yeah. So if you go to lawforkidspodcast.com, I did experiment, but I think you're right. I need to try to experiment with the other version of what I talked about and see. Yeah.
Same thing. I'm just saying. I mean, it's more efficient for you to make like 50 of those in one sitting, which you might be doing already.
I made all 8 episodes in 1 weekend, right, of the first ones. But they're 8 minutes, but they take 15 minutes to produce each of them. Produce, right. So it was actually banned from TikTok. It was banned from TikTok, and let me tell you why. You can't make kids content on TikTok. They don't allow it. It's against their terms of service. Instagram, it got thousands of views on Instagram. Yeah, it did.
Or like for dummies, right? Like,
Yeah. Okay.
We're out of time.
There you go.
This is great, guys. Thank you so much, Matthew. We're way over the normal. I think we just kind of due to the weather. I appreciate everybody's patience. You can stay. You can co-work. You can stay. But thank you for coming. I hope it was a good week. We'll be back again next week. Are we here next week? We are here next week. Good. Please feel free to get up, talk. We're going to fold a chair. Please fold a chair, put it up against the wall, have some coffee, come up and talk to Diane and Matthew. If you guys can stay here, we have some gifts for you. We're going to take a picture. If all the organizers can come up as well. And happy Wednesday.
Music on?
Yeah.